episode of the Puma Podcast. Thank you for taking the time today. And before we get started, as always, the show is brought to you by Game On in Batavia, located at 214 East Main Street. They specialize in new and pre-owned games and systems repair services, and they deliver. They're the only store-to-door video game store around. Give them a call at 585-483-3019, and Game Master Jay is going to hook you up. No time to waste this week. I got a lot to get into at the back end of the program this week, so we're going to jump right into your football fix, and really the only thing I want to talk about, Bills-related or otherwise football, the injuries at OTAs. The biggest one being Tyler Kroft broke his foot. Again, I guess. He'll be out 3-4 months. Excuse me. He should be considered almost ready by the beginning of the season. I would expect him mid-September. The season is just under 4 months away. So it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. This team is very deep. Everywhere else, a lot of opportunities are going to be had here. Dawson Knox, Jason Kroom, and Tommy Sweeney are three guys that you should probably start keeping your eye on now, considering that the tight end position, doesn't have much. Easy, Siri. I don't know why my phone is just going off like that, but okay. Jesus, Siri. Realistically, I don't think this will kill the Bills at all. Tyler Kroft would be more of a luxury to have just because of his experience. And what he did at Cincinnati when Eifert got hurt. But I feel like this is a golden opportunity for Knox and Kroom and Sweeney, especially Kroom, because I really liked what he did last year. He seemed to have a little bit more chemistry with Allen than anybody else did. I know Kroom got hurt, but as far as I'm seeing, it doesn't seem to be very serious. I haven't seen anything else that really states otherwise, so I would love to see Kroom really kind of establish himself on this team. I really would. Whether or not that'll happen, I don't know. Dawson Knox, I would put money on that he's going to probably be the front runner in this with Kroft being hurt. But I don't think it's a death nail to this team. So I'm not really going to get too worked up about it just because it's OTAs and everybody, it's just kind of getting in shape. Broken foot sucks. It really does. You don't want to see that. But I expect, Frank Gore's got a sprained ankle. I expect things like that to be happening just because you're just getting back into the football flow of things. But that's obviously the biggest news. Other injuries, it looks like Cole Beasley and Mitch Morse both had core muscle surgeries this offseason, so they should be ready to go by training camp, it seems. Like I said, Gore, foot and ankle injuries. TJ Yeldon has a groin injury. David Sills, I believe, has a hamstring injury. Russell Bodine, according to Coach McDermott, is still coming off a shoulder injury. Defensively, Raphael Bush has a groin injury. Taron Johnson's shoulder. But it looks like Matt Milano is a full participant, which is a very good sign. So, like I said, really, I'm not really too much else to get into besides the injuries. I understand the Kroft one is a big one, but I don't think it's really going to kill this team for what they want to do. They're going to want to run the ball more. It's kind of the reason why they got Frank Gore and they beefed up the offensive line, because they don't want Allen to do it all himself. They want him to use his arm more, not his legs. Makes sense. The other two bits of news is that they gave Jerry Hughes a 2-year extension, which I know I've said before that I don't know if you want to give him big money, big extension, but for 2 years and what they're paying him probably will take him right where he needs to be. Not, I don't want to say past his prime, quote unquote, but I think you'll get all the usefulness you need out of him within these next 2 seasons. And then it won't cost much to get rid of him if production slips. Shaq Lawson being another key to look out for because they didn't pick up his option, so he'll be a free agent at the end of the year. That'll be something to really keep an eye on. If he has a big year, then we'll have to see. But it seems like this team is ready to move on from him. which is unfortunate, but there's a lot of players around the league in Shaq Lawson's position that were drafted that same year that their deals aren't being picked up either. So you could replace him and find someone else that fits a little bit better. Or if Shaq is completely healthy and just balls out, then you got to make decisions. But you have to wait and see. That seems to be the approach for this team. Anyway, and Eric Wood is going to replace Mark Kelso on the radio broadcast of the Bills. So that'll be really nice to have Eric Wood in the booth. Mark Kelso did a really good job. He's very knowledgeable about what he did. He was kind of annoying sometimes. But I always remember that Miami game. I remember going back and forth to work when I was out of town, listening to him. And then the Miami game, when punches were thrown, people got ejected, all that other fun stuff. He was freaking out, and it was hilarious. That's what I'll remember about Mark Kelso the most. But I think Eric Wood's going to fill in very nicely. I think he'll provide more insight. I feel like everybody's trying to get what CBS has with Tony Romo. They're trying to get that more modern, guy that's been there recently that kind of knows everything and understands it a little bit more. So I think Eric Wood will provide a much different point of view since he was literally just there no more than a year ago, 2 years ago. So I think it'll be a different feel on radio broadcast. Murph's still going to be Murph. I don't know what capacity Steve Tasker will have. I don't know if he'll have any on game days because he's not going back to CBS Sports. They didn't renew his contract, so he's not going back. He's still going to do One Bills Live with Murphy, noon to 3, Monday through Friday on GR. And that's on MSG if you care to watch it. It remains to be seen, but, those are the biggest things I had Bills-wise. I posted it on Facebook, kind of the rundown of today's show. This might be a very quick and to the point one, but like I told you, I'm going to get into WWE stuff because over the weekend they had Money in the Bank, and something happened that just kind of sent the internet into a tizzy. So I kind of want to spend most of my time talking about that because I'm probably going to run a little long. So I want to try to get to that as much as possible. I don't mean to be glossing over the Bill stuff very quickly. But like I said, it's just OTAs. There's the injuries to talk about, but there's really not much in the way of real actual football things happening. This is just, drills, and they're hitting pads. Once we get closer and closer to training camp, then we can dive a little bit deeper into everything. But for right now, it's just kind of hoping these guys get healthy for training camp and take it easy, just kind of get back into football shape, so to speak. And then we'll gear up for the season. So going to be very exciting. Can't wait. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And on the other side of that, we'll get into what else is going on. And I'll tell you right now, we're going to talk about the Dubs and the Blazers a little bit. And then we're going to preview the Stanley Cup Finals. And then, like I said, I'm going to fix WWE. So stay tuned. It is now summertime, and that only means one thing. You need to come on in to Scrambleman Farms. Howl about in there, Rick. Starting June 1st, Scrambleman Farms has added some new drinks to the menu to keep you cool this summer. Nana's homemade lemonade, pink lemonade, and iced tea. That's right. You don't need to just get apple juice and orange juice and coffee with your breakfast. You can now have Nana's homemade, fresh squeezed lemonade, pink lemonade, and iced tea. That's just what we want to do for you at Scrambleman Farms, located on Route 9. Look for Rick the Mechanical Rooster out front. Scrambleman Farms! When you hear the rooster howl, baby, that's breakfast. Everybody, let's get into what else is going on. And the Golden State Warriors swept the Portland Trail Blazers. More impressively, the Warriors were down by 17 points or more in 3 of those games and came back to win every time. The Dubs are just on another level this time of year. They vanquished the Rockets in the last round. They took out the Blazers this round. The Blazers couldn't get one win anywhere. Just without Kevin Durant, I know a lot of people are saying that, they're still good without him. They won 73 games without him, all that other shit. But it's just they're a different team when he's not in the lineup as compared to when he is. Just because they're predicated on ball movement. And, the ball moves around a lot and the players move around a lot. Like, that's kind of the point. And when Durant isn't there, Durant is a guy that is a ball-dominant player. So when he gets the ball, he could do whatever he wants with it because he's one of the best players in the world. It's kind of the point. So nobody else is expected to have to do as much when he's there. But when he's not there, everyone kind of has to play on an even keel and they have to move the ball around. That's why it was so impressive what they did. And they still got down double digits. Like, they were down 20, 25 points at one point. I think it was game 3, game 4, whatever it was. I can't remember which game exactly. But game 4 ended up going to overtime and they ended up winning there. But, like, they were down, like I said, 17 or more points in 3 of those games. And to come back and win all 3 times, that's just how good of a team they are. And it's scary to think. The East, it looks like it's going to play out for the long haul, which isn't going to benefit anybody there. The Bucks seem to be kind of losing a step the last 2 games. The Raptors have really come to play. They've defended home court well. Kawhi is doing everything Kawhi does, and that's good. Very good to see. Giannis seems to be a little hamstrung. Not that he's hurt, but I just mean like kind of, I don't want to say locked down defensively, but I mean, it just doesn't seem like he's doing as much as he did in the first 2 games. They really got to get back to letting him just kind of do whatever he wants. Because I feel like that team is better when they do that. But I feel like the Bucks are a better overall team just because I like their supporting cast around Giannis more so than I like Toronto's supporting cast. It's going to be an entertaining series. I believe Game 5 is tonight. So that'll be an interesting watch. Whoever probably wins this game might take the series. I believe that. Either way, Bucks are losing in 5 to the Dubs, or the Raptors are getting swept. That's my prediction. So that's pretty much your basketball minute, I guess. Hockey, the Stanley Cup Finals are set. The Blues and the Bruins. I believe Monday is when that series starts in Boston. What's very impressive to me, one, is that San Jose really got hit by the injury bug at the worst possible time, and then their scoring dried up. The last 3 games of their series against the Blues, they scored 2 goals. Yeah. Erik Karlsson not being in the lineup really hurt them. I know that when he was on the ice, they had 4 goals for, 1 against, and then when he wasn't on the ice, it was the other way around. So obviously he was a big piece to what they were doing. Injuries hurt at any time, more so in the playoffs. San Jose just couldn't get the scoring they needed. St. Louis, guys that were struggling, got hot at the right time. Now they're going to have to go against probably the most complete team in these playoffs in the Boston Bruins and one of the hottest goalies in Tuukka Rask. So it should be an interesting series if St. Louis is playing the way that they've played up until this point. St. Louis is probably the hottest team in the league anyway. It's hard to believe that January 2nd, this team was last place. St. Louis was last place as of January 2nd, and they fired their coach. As of right now, their head coach right now is an interim tag. It's not likely that he is going to get replaced at the end of the season, regardless of the outcome of the Cup. He is more than likely going to get the interim tag removed. He's going to be the head coach. But, again, what they're doing is kind of remarkable considering they were last place, and now they're 4 wins away from a Stanley Cup. More pissed, I think, Ryan O'Reilly is that close to a Stanley Cup from a guy that said he lost the love of the game playing for the Sabres. So, obviously, you can't keep a guy that says that because you just can't. You ship him to St. Louis, and now he's considered one of the reasons why they had the turnaround that they had. It's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating from a Sabres perspective. But the Stanley Cup Final should be rather fun to watch. I can guarantee you that. Now, on to the main thing I wanted to talk about, wrestling. I know everybody loves when I talk about this. This past Sunday was Money in the Bank. This, on its surface, should be a pay-per-view that is meant to elevate guys that are maybe in the mid-card or some younger stars in the making type of thing. That's kind of the point of the briefcase, because you get it and you hold on to it forever, and then you cash in at an opportune moment, and it's very exciting and people love to see it. Bayley won the women's one, which was nice. People wanted to see it. And then she immediately cashed in that night, and now she's SmackDown Women's Champ, which is good for her. They're billing that as she's the first women's Triple Crown winner. She won the Women's Tag Championships, the Raw Women's title, and now she has the SmackDown Women's title, so Triple Crown there. And then the young up-and-comer Brock Lesnar came out at the very last second and won the men's Money in the Bank match. So, yeah. Everybody was pretty pissed about that. That is for sure. So, and it's because Vince McMahon still thinks that Brock Lesnar fucking draws. Like, yeah, I guess he's a spectacle, but I don't think it's really affecting the ratings much. He's not there enough for people to care. I've said this before about him when he was champion. Now he's got the briefcase. He's not going to be around enough for you to remember that he's got the briefcase. He'll probably go a month without being on Raw, and no one will remember. Nobody will remember. So it doesn't mean anything to keep putting him on here. But again, Vince McMahon looks at quote-unquote stars and that they draw. They don't draw. It's a different time in wrestling. AEW is on the cusp of premiering in the fall. They got TNT to broadcast them. They got a lot of guys that are well-known in the indie circuits and New Japan. So Cody Rhodes kind of knows what he's doing here. So AEW in the fall is going to be awesome. I can't wait. But as of right now, WWE is very, very stale. They go to the same tropes that they always do to get things thinking that they're going to kickstart the ratings again, and they're not. They're at all-time lows here. They don't take advantage of the people that they have. And most of this just goes to Vince McMahon just being Vince McMahon. He does this all the time. It was this past Monday on Raw. Apparently the script wasn't even done. They didn't have a final script. So, like, they just kind of made it up on the fly as they went. That's what kind of disarray this shit is in right now. And for a company like WWE, it is too big to fail. Let's put it that way. This company is way too big to fail. They got too much going on everywhere. And again, SmackDown's going to be on Fox starting in October. So, you know, they're going to start billing that once it gets near to the end of the summer that, SmackDown's going to Fox. First time ever a major wrestling promotion will be on prime time on network television. I mean, like, for serious this time. Like, WWE used to have NBC do Saturday nights, which was fine. You know, that was great, but that was like a Saturday night main event, I think what they called it. But that wasn't like a scheduled every single Saturday type thing. Like, it meant a lot then. But it's different now because SmackDown is a weekly episodic thing. Like, the idea is they're not going to take a break. So that's why it's bigger. And the amount of money Fox paid, they're going to want ratings to go up. What I want to do, I'm not done ranting about Vince McMahon, but I want to just preface this real quick, is that what I did is that I went to WWE's website. I looked at their current superstar section. I wrote down everybody's name. Men, women, you know, and I'm divvying them all up, and I'm going to kind of fix some things. I made some exclusions here. I'll read them off in a minute. But I'm not going to do this based on what networks prefer, what NBC wants, what Fox wants, what Vince wants, what would be good for ratings, what makes money. This is just the general blueprint on how to kind of divvy things up and fix what you got going. And then, I'm not going to get into storylines because that's just way too many to do. But as of right now, this is just the general baseline to hit the reset button and start again. But again, my biggest problem with Vince McMahon is that he still thinks that he knows what's best, and he isn't really quite adapting to the times. And it's just, he just needs to kind of loosen the reins a little bit. He can't think that this middle school humor is funny for comedy segments. He can't think that, people want to see this, so that's what we're going to do, and everybody boos it, then he just doesn't understand why. Vince McMahon is still under the impression that he creates the stars. And he doesn't. He may have come up with Stone Cold. He didn't really come up with Stone Cold. Stone Cold came up with Stone Cold. But, he will take credit for, the rivalry with Stone Cold Yes. But I mean, there would be no quote unquote Mr. McMahon, the character, if it wasn't for him screwing over Bret Hart and Montreal Screwjob. So without that, and that was just an organic thing. Like, he was just more worried that he didn't want his title to leave the company with Bret Hart when he left, because that was in the middle of the WCW Monday Night Wars, and WCW was ruling the ratings then. But then it forced them to become more adult, and you got a little bit more edgy, and it wasn't quote-unquote family entertainment anymore. And that's all Vince McMahon cares about is family entertainment. And that's what you're billing it as. They're going after targeting the marketing towards children, and it isn't working anymore. Like, it never really worked in the first place, but it isn't definitely working now because it's all stale, and you can't keep having all these individual wrestlers come in and try to squabble with each other and then go to commercial, and then when you come back, oh, tag team action. The old Teddy Long special. You just throw them in tag teams. That's not what everybody wants to see. It's boring. You're not doing anything that really is fresh and innovative, because there really isn't too much more to do anymore based on WWE's restrictions. But introducing the 24/7 title, basically a PG hardcore title, more or less what it is. It's a comedy thing just to give the mid-carders something to do. Again, it's stupid, but again, Vince McMahon didn't create what Stone Cold was, what The Rock was, what Triple H and DX were. That was just the circumstance. You needed to get more adult. The Rock got honest and real. DX was just, screw the ratings, or not ratings, screw the censors, screw the network. We don't care what you guys say. We're going to do whatever we want. And Stone Cold was just Stone Cold. Vince McMahon couldn't organically create all that, and he didn't. But he's going to take credit for it like he did, if you see what I'm saying. So this is the problem. And then you fast forward till now, throwing the briefcase on Brock Lesnar, teasing it to, he's going to cash in on either Seth Rollins or Kofi Kingston. Goddamn. A lot of this is leading up to their Saudi Arabia show, which has a lot of problems in itself. But their Saudi Arabia show is coming up in June. He was more than likely to cash in then. Probably against Seth Rollins, I would assume. Take that for what you will. I mean, Goldberg and Undertaker are going to face each other in that Saudi Arabia show. Was anybody really clamoring for that? No. Maybe back in 2002. That would have been awesome. It would have been great. But not now. Nobody cares. You see what I'm saying? It's like you're just trying to do it for nostalgia's sake, and you can't keep rehashing nostalgia because it's not working anymore. These guys are older. They can't do what they did back then. Kind of the point of this. But, all right, to get into how I'm going to fix WWE right now. Like I said, I'm not doing this based on what networks would want, what marketing wants, what the sponsors want, or what's going to really make money. It's just a hard reset and then a baseline for where you go from here. My exclusions to this, like I said, I went through the active superstar section on WWE.com, and I'm excluding the following people from this because they're not, I don't want to say wrestling, quote unquote, but, to make things easier. Like Shane McMahon, I don't consider him a wrestler full-time. He's kind of like the face, like the authority figure, I guess. So he's gone. Paige, because she's hurt right now, can't really do much. I know a lot of these other guys I'm going to mention and girls are injured. They're dealing with injuries, but let's assume that they're healthy for this, except for Paige. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But the announcers, Cole, Corey Graves, those guys, they're gone. Tommaso Ciampa, he's really hurt, but I consider him more NXT. The rest of the NXT guys, Triple H, Stephanie, Vince, Kane, Jerry Lawler, Booker T, Big Show, Primo and Epico, because I don't really know what they're doing. John Cena, Nikki and Brie Bella, and Maurice. They're all on the active superstar thing, but those are all guys I excluded for the time being. What I'm going to do is that they got a lot of championships, and it's seemingly only like 3 people going after each championship, which leads to really stale, let's call it rivalries. I don't know. It's kind of what they do. But this is what I'm doing. The Universal and WWE Championships, we unify to make the WWE Championship, right? The Raw Women's and SmackDown Women's Championships will unify to make just a Women's Championship, and the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships unify to just make Tag Team Championships, all right? The U.S. title will be exclusive to Raw, and the Intercontinental title will be exclusive to SmackDown. So Rey Mysterio is a Raw superstar. Finn Balor is a SmackDown superstar. And now on both shows, you'll have the WWE champion, who will be, let's call him Seth Rollins. He can go to both shows. The women's champion, Becky Lynch, going to both shows. Tag team champions being Rowan and Daniel Bryan, both shows. Cruiserweight championship, Tony Nese, he'll go to both shows. And the women's tag team champions being the Iconics, they will go to both shows. I listed all the cruiserweights. I know 205 Live, it's its own separate thing. But I feel like you need to put them on the main roster because they can't just be boxed into that. They can't be considered their own thing. You need them because that can create some more rivalries and they can go against other people. Like Mustafa Ali, now just Ali, I guess. He isn't considered a cruiserweight anymore. Now he's on SmackDown, and he had a pretty good match against Andrade the other night. So, you can get more of that if you let them. So I'm not considering them their own thing, but it's kind of like what WCW did. It's like as long as they're under 205 pounds, they could go for the championship. But they can be involved in other things. So I split them up. Same with the women. Obviously, they can only go for the tag titles or the women's title, but I split them up evenly because you have those 5 champions being able to go to both shows. It can lead for other things, and for argument's sake, the WWE champ, like Seth Rollins, he could go get with a rivalry with somebody on Raw, and he might not be on SmackDown, but that makes the Intercontinental title a lot more important because that is now the main title on that show. So, it's like, all right, well, Seth Rollins is a little preoccupied, so I want this one. If you bill it that way, it could work. If you work it that way, that could be it. Because if everybody remembers back in the day, the days of Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, the Intercontinental title was a big deal. If you had that, you were more or less next in line to be heavyweight champion. That was kind of the gist. So if you could somehow do this way, where your main titles on each show, guaranteed to be on each show every week, U.S. title on Raw, IC title on SmackDown, if you make that mean something more, it could work. And we're not doing this based on, entertainment. We're doing it based on wrestling ability. And Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor are 2 of the best. Rollins being really good, again. Becky Lynch being really good. Tony Nese can really go. The Iconics still need a little bit of work, but they haven't really defended their women's tag titles. That needs to change. You got to try to put more women's tag teams out there. So that is definitely what I tried to do. Divvying up the rosters now. I'm going to try to run down these really quick, but everybody on here, because you may think I'm a little crazy. But again, keeping the idea that SmackDown's going to Fox in the fall, I had to give them somebody to kind of work with here. But again, your champions that'll go to both shows. Seth Rollins, WWE champ. Becky Lynch, women's champ. Rowan and Daniel Bryan, tag champs. The Iconics, women's champ. And Tony Nese, the cruiserweight champ. On Raw, your roster is Rey Mysterio as the U.S. champ. And they will get Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. You make them the Bullet Club, if you will. Because you really need some stables to kind of take some pressure off some of these guys. Aleister Black, Baron Corbin, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane. Make them Sanity again. The Miz, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel. Keep all them separate. Aiden English, Titus O'Neil, Jeff and Matt Hardy, Jimmy and Jay Uso, Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, The Revival, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Keep them a tag team still. Kevin Owens, Rusev with Lana. Heath Slater, Lars Sullivan, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Robert Roode, whatever he's going by. Jason Jordan, Chad Gable. You can keep them separate or put them back together. Either way, I'll keep them separate here for this. Sheamus, R-Truth, Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Sarah Logan, Nikki Cross, Sasha Banks, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Dana Brooke, Naomi, Natalia, Maria Kanellis, Mickie James. And then your cruiserweights on Raw would be Akira Tozawa, Brian Kendrick, Arya Davari, Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander, Mike Kanellis, Mark Andrews, and Noam Dar. On SmackDown, you got Finn Balor, your IC champ, and they will have Roman Reigns, Andrade with Zelina Vega, EC3, Ricochet, Bobby Lashley, Bray Wyatt, Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, Big E, Xavier Woods. You got the New Day, Ali, Apollo Crews, Elias, Fandango, Tyler Breeze, Akam and Razor, Authors of Pain, Eric and Ivar, the War Raiders, War Vikings, whatever the hell they're calling them now. Tucker and Otis, Heavy Machinery, Connor and Victor, the Ascension, Jinder Mahal, Samir, and Sunil Singh. Keep them a tag team. Samoa Joe, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Mojo Rawley, Noe Jose, Shelton Benjamin, Luke Harper, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Bayley, Ronda Rousey, Ember Moon, Alicia Fox, Carmella, Lacey Evans, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, Nia Jax, Tamina, your Cruiserweights, Kalisto, Grand Metalik, Sin Cara, Lindsay Dorado, Leo Rush, Drake Maverick, Drew Gulak, and Jack Gallagher. A lot I threw at you, I know. The idea here being I try to keep the quote-unquote tag teams together because you need kind of an even mix for this to work. But it gives whoever the tag team champs are going against on one show, the other show time to kind of sort out their tag team division and make them the incumbent number one contenders. So when the next pay-per-view comes around, and I'm going to get into the pay-per-view schedule in a minute, it makes it mean more. WWE, again, has pay-per-views every month. Sometimes they have 2 in a month. I kind of made this a bit of a rolling schedule. You can kind of work with it a little bit, but January is a set Royal Rumble. That's always going to be there. February, you would not have a pay-per-view. The next pay-per-view after Royal Rumble would be WrestleMania. You either have that at the end of March or early April. So last Sunday in March, first Sunday in April will be WrestleMania either way. If you have it in March, Extreme Rules, then we'll call it Extreme Rules. It could be called anything, but Extreme Rules would be in May. If you have WrestleMania beginning of April, you don't have Extreme Rules until June. So there's always a month in between that. July, there would be nothing. August would always be SummerSlam. September, there would be nothing. Money in the Bank would then be October. I feel like that gives you enough time to cash in wherever you'd want. Somewhere in there. It doesn't give you much for Survivor Series if you wanted to hold it for a year because, again, you only get a year for the Money in the Bank stipulation. So you'd either have to cash in the next month at Survivor Series. November would always be Survivor Series. December would not have a pay-per-view. Again, I'm not doing this based on the money. Like, I understand how much money a pay-per-view generates. But if, for the sake of the storylines you're trying to create, you can't have pay-per-views that often because it just doesn't mean as much. So you got to try to limit this and scale it back a little bit more. It'll make the storylines better because there isn't a pay-per-view. There isn't the quote-unquote payoff. And WWE likes to rehash these things 2 or 3 times to call it a rivalry. And then, we'll do it 3 times because the 3rd time is the definitive end and somebody will get the better of the other. It's stupid. Like, you need to give this stuff time to develop storyline-wise. So, like I said, Royal Rumble January. February would not have one. WrestleMania would be last Sunday, March, first Sunday, April. If so, that affects when Extreme Rules would be, either May or June. July would not have one. August, SummerSlam, always. September, none. Money in the Bank, October. Survivor Series, November. And December would not have one because after Survivor Series, you're building towards Royal Rumble again. So it would give you a lot of time, especially in the summer, especially if, like, WrestleMania is March, then you got May Extreme Rules. June and July, you got 2 months and nothing. So that's when you really build towards SummerSlam. You got to really make it, you got a lot of time to kill. You'll have damn near almost 3 months to kill to get to your next pay-per-view. So that should be more than enough time for you to really build what you want to build and do what you got to do to make things matter there. I would say the next thing you do is make Raw 2 hours, but not really married to that. If so, it'd be better because then you wouldn't have to write as much. But the idea being that you would not have a lot of these guys on the show every single week. You have to feature some of these people. So, like, Brock Lesnar obviously isn't on the show every week now, but like AJ Styles, generally going to be on the show every week. He's a full-time guy. You don't necessarily need him every single week. That gives you more time to maybe put an Aiden English into something. Not saying people want to see Aiden English more, but you have to give these guys time to kind of do some things and put them in there. So it kind of gives the audience a fresh take on a lot of things. You don't want to get stale with a lot of these people. You don't want to see, like, everybody wants to see your main stars, obviously. But if they're not there a week, yeah, you may gyp the people that showed up that week because you're a traveling show. It's not like you're in one set location, so people can just come back every week and you can do what you got to do. But at least to the TV audience, it would build more anticipation. So it's like, he did this week. He wasn't here the following week. What's going to happen when he shows up next week? Or if he even shows up next week. It'll kind of give you that wonder too. Again, not saying this is a foolproof scheme here, but it's something that you could build towards. And then, like I said, keeping each champion on each show, like a Rey Mysterio, Finn Balor, it makes those two titles mean a little bit more because those are the mainstay championships on each show. Like, those are the top two prizes on each show you can get guaranteed to keep you on that show. Now, like I said, I kept Paige on the exclusions for a reason because I would make her GM again. Let's call it on SmackDown. You find another GM on Raw, not like a Kurt Angle, somebody that's just going to be there for a little while, but I mean somebody that you can legitimately keep there as the quote-unquote authority figure. You have, Triple H be commissioner or some stupid shit. Just kind of there. Kind of just to be there. Not to get involved in anything, but just to be there. Like, he'd be seen every once in a while. You don't really need him for much, except around WrestleMania time when he wants to do something. But, have kind of that commissioner that approves quote-unquote trades. If you want the brand split to mean something, and again, this is all based off a brand split. So you want it to mean something, you need to have two general managers, and you need to be able to have them trade. Like, kind of just, hey, we got to trade, or we're doing this. You can have breaking video on your Twitter or Instagram or whatever and just be like, oh, hey, this is Charlie Caruso, from WWE headquarters or whatever. I know she does ESPN too, but whatever. Just, I just got word that there's a trade to be like a trade alert. There's rumors that Paige is chalking to Raw to try to acquire two superstars. We're gathering the details now. But you kind of put that out there on a Friday night, Saturday morning. People will be like, oh man, there's a trade. What's going on? And then, maybe they'll kind of constantly look and you could be like, oh, the rumors are we're hearing this, and this for this and this. And then on Raw, you tune in to see who got traded. Like, something like that. Keep it a little bit interesting. Do something else. Not just, superstar shakeup, we're going to do this. And then completely renege on all of that because, Fox wants more Latino presence. That's why Andrade can't be on Raw. He's got to be on SmackDown. It's something stupid like that. Again, this isn't perfect, but this is my idea to kind of fix some things. It gives you a hard reset. Excuse me again. It gives you a hard reset, and it could give you a fresher take on this just because you have so much potential here. And again, you want to create superstars. This is a good way to do it. You don't feature certain people every single week. You don't rehash the same matches every time. You don't keep throwing everybody into tag teams. If you don't have everybody on the show, certain people on the show every week, it'll build more anticipation. It'll mean more to the storyline. You scale back the pay-per-views a little bit. You can build. You have more time to build towards something more meaningful. And again, if you don't have the PG hamstring there, you can actually do some more adult things because you cater towards children because it's family entertainment, but the adults pay for the stuff. I don't get it. But like I said, I went through and I counted and I try to keep this as even as possible. I had 90 male superstars. So I try to split them 45 and 45. That's what I tried to do anyway. There got 29 females. I take that back. Excuse me. I had counted 29, but I had a minus Becky Lynch and the Iconics to give you 26. So 13 and 13 of those on each show. And then I believe the Cruiserweights, I had 17 total, minus Tony Nese, who's the champ, so 16. So divvy them up, 8 on each show. So that's kind of how I did that. I try to keep maybe the lesser-known guys, your mid-carder B-level stars, put them on SmackDown to get more exposure on network TV for Fox when they get there. And try to keep some guys together just the way it worked, but other people needed to be separated. So it kind of gives you a fresher look, a different mix of people. But keeping the New Day together is probably a must. They're big. Getting your tag teams meaning something, putting some lesser-known tag teams on SmackDown would be better, like AOP, War Raiders, Heavy Machinery would be good. Something like that is what I wanted to do. Ascension has to get back into the fold of the thing. Samir and Sunil Singh, keeping them a tag team, I feel like they can do some good things if given the time. So it kind of gives you there. And then, like I said, if you keep Chad Gable and Jason Jordan separate. You can do that. You can put them as a tag team, and there's another tag team. So you have options. There's flexibility there. That's the whole point of what I was trying to do here. Give you some flexibility, give you some options. And I just fixed WWE. You're fucking welcome. All right. But like I said, that's pretty much all I wanted to get into. I know I said I was going to run long on this, which I did. So that is definitely something that has been kind of sticking in my craw the last couple of days, especially when I saw the result of Money in the Bank. But yeah, that is how I'd fix WWE. So I really hope all of you enjoyed that. Next week, we'll get back to more sports stuff. I know I've been teasing talking about baseball for the longest time. Maybe if nothing drastic happens next week and I got some time, I'll try. Not right now, it's not looking too promising. My schedule is kind of all over the place. So stay posted to the Twitter and the Facebook page. I will try to do a show next week. I don't know if I will, though. I don't know if I'll have time. So if I got 2 weeks to figure something to talk about, that'd be good, I would say, right? Very, very good. But until then, that is what else is going on. A reminder, you could read the blogs and hear each episode of the podcast at pumathoughts.blogspot.com. You can like and share Puma Thoughts on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Puma Thoughts. You can follow the show on Twitter at Puma Thoughts or follow me at Puma585. You can listen to the show on SoundCloud. Go to soundcloud.com, search for Puma585 or Puma Thoughts. Either way, it'll bring you right to me. And you can listen to the show on YouTube now. Go to YouTube, search for Puma Thoughts. Look for the logo, ring the bell, get notifications every time a new episode is posted. And that is all I got for you this week. Have an awesome day, everybody. I'm out of here.